So how do we stay motivated to practice jazz so that we don't get frustrated, burned out, or even quit altogether? Today, I'm giving you 8 tips that will help you stay amped up to practice, coming right up. Now, it can be a really strange dichotomy to ponder, but it's funny how we really want to become great musicians and great jazz players. However, sometimes we're just not motivated to practice and put in the work. And honestly, it's really natural and everybody goes through it. What we want to try to do is figure out how can we stay motivated for the long run so that we can improve and start reaching our musical ideals, which will further give us fuel to continue our journey as jazz musicians. So tip number 1 is to regularly listen to jazz. It goes without saying that the more we're listening to jazz and simply enjoying ourselves listening to jazz, the more it kind of creates this imagination within ourselves of what if I could play that, or what if I tried this that my favorite jazz musician is playing. So be continuously listening to jazz music to essentially give you the food that you need to stay hungry, to stay motivated, to stay activated to be in the practice room. Now, tip number 2 is the level up from that, and a really important one, which is go and see live jazz at least occasionally, if not often. Because when we go in to see live jazz performances from our favorite musicians, we really get this sense of excitement about what's going on. I can't tell you how many times I've been completely unmotivated, gone through a practicing slump, but then when I go out to, Smalls in New York City or Mesro and go see some of my favorite jazz musicians, how inspired I am and how much better I even play when I get back home and start practicing. So it's really like you're superpowering yourself when you go out and see live jazz music. And if you don't have a lot of live music like I do in New York City, then of course you can just go to local jazz musicians that are playing around your town, or even figure out a way to create your own situation where at least you can be around other musicians who are playing live. Now, tip number 3 is to create projects. It's really important if you want to stay motivated to practice that you create projects for yourself that you are continuously working on. Now, the important thing when we create projects is we don't want them to be so big and so massive that we start losing sight of the vision and get tired of doing them or don't feel like we're making meaningful progress. When you're creating projects, you want to create bite-sized projects that help you feel like you're accomplishing. You're sort of hacking your psychology when you do this. So a good example would be, I want to learn how to play 2 choruses of this Wynton Kelly solo that I really like, okay? And you can even set a time frame to it, or if that's stressful for you, don't do that at all. However, you can break that down into smaller pieces so that you can accomplish that goal. So now you're always having something that you're aiming towards. And then once you're done that project, you can go ahead and do more projects. It's even a good idea to schedule projects, like say, I'm going to finish this one project, then I'm going to learn this jazz standard, then I'm going to work on this particular exercise, and so on and so forth, so that you have something to continuously look forward to, gauge your progress, to make you feel like you are improving and progressing. Now, tip number 4 is to play with other musicians. Now, this is so important, and it really is the heart of what jazz really is anyways. It's all about playing with other musicians, feeding off of them, improvising together. It's very much so a communal music. And I find those who really don't get out and play with others, whether it just be one friend, whether it just be a few friends you get together with on a regular basis, or a public jam session, or even if you have the opportunity to play out and play gigs, like having that available to you to have that goal that you're reaching towards constantly is huge for motivation, right? If you have a weekly jam session that you go to, then you're always motivated to work on that jazz standard that you didn't play as well last time, or learn that new one that you heard got called, or improve upon your blues because you want to play better blues at the jam session. So if you always have people that you can play with and learn from and grow with, that's huge for staying motivated in the long run. Now, tip number 5 kind of goes along with that, and that is to join a jazz community. So whether this is at your local jam session, whether this is with a group of other friends, or an online music education or community like we have one in our Inner Circle membership, this can be super inspiring. And I will say, just from experience, well, our members in our Inner Circle, they're posting the work that they're doing, the practice sessions that they're doing, the assignments that they're doing, and they're getting feedback on their playing, and they're seeing that a lot of other people are doing the same thing. And again, this comes down to psychology. When you feel like you're a part of something bigger than yourself, that there's other people doing something with you, that's really motivating and inspiring in and of itself, and will keep you going for the longer term because you know that you're not alone. So find a community, whether it's online or in person, to continually fuel that fire for you. So tip number 6 is to regularly point out the things that you like in your jazz playing. Regularly point out the things that you think you're doing well. This is an opposite thing of what most of us do. We tend to like to point out the things that we're not doing so well or the flaws. I did it to myself even just today, rather than looking at the things that are actually going well. I would always say to consider first pointing out the things that you're doing well before you criticize yourself when listening back to a recording or even just while you're playing. This is really important because you want to be saying positive things to yourself and showing yourself the potential you truly do have. And if you develop that mindset, it's going to help you stay motivated long term. Now, tip number 7 is to practice things that you actually have fun working on. Having fun is a really important thing, and it's really a studied thing in psychology that when we're having fun doing something, we're more likely to get results doing it, and we're more likely to obviously continue doing it. When we're doing something that feels really hard or toilsome, then we tend to lose motivation. So what I would say is to find a healthy balance, like work a lot on things that are fun for you, or at least do them in a way that is fun for you. Like for example, maybe working with a backing track could be fun for you versus only working with the metronome. That could be a fun situation, doing something that you may not like doing. But we do want to balance it because at the same time, we're not going to become better musicians and better players if we're not challenging ourselves, if we're not doing the things that may be a little bit more difficult for us. For example, learning a piece of music by ear, a solo by ear, might be harder for someone who's really good at reading, but by doing that, it's going to benefit your jazz playing so much more. So find the balance between doing things that you really love to do and have fun doing and things that you find are challenging, or find ways to marry those two together. Now, tip number 8 is to take occasional breaks. Now, breaks is something that I've talked a lot about on my podcast before and here on my YouTube channel. It is okay to stop playing your instrument for a while and refresh and recharge. In fact, I find personally that when I do take a break and take some time away from my instrument, that when I come back, I feel more refreshed. When I'm constantly practicing and hearing myself play all the time, this is when I can start getting a little tired of what I'm doing or not seeing the progress because I'm so close to it. So sometimes taking a step back is actually a healthy thing to do from time to time. Now, speaking of what to practice, do check out this video that I have on the screen right now, which talks about how to go from beginner to intermediate to advanced level of jazz playing. And I really walk you through different things that you should be practicing in those different phases, no matter where you are, that could really help you out. So check out that video right now. Thanks for checking out this video today. Make sure you like this video if you found it helpful. Make sure you subscribe, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the next one. Cheers.